Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend so far, having a great Saturday as we're about to get rolling through our Saturday into our Sunday, and then we get into our work week. And guys, I am telling y'all, it is going to be very active for a large portion of the country. Maybe not the immediate eastern U.S., which I know a lot of people who watch my videos are in the southeast and the eastern U.S., but a lot of people in the middle part of the country are going to be affected by some crazy weather. I'm talking about the potential for a severe weather outbreak for maybe Tuesday and Wednesday. There will be severe weather Monday, and an incredible, I really think it's going to honestly probably be overshadowed by the severe weather somewhat, but I think there is going to be a very impressive blizzard in the upper Midwest, the Dakotas, areas of Montana, maybe Wyoming, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that towards the end of the video, and then we're going to talk about the severe weather for the beginning and towards the middle of the video. So we're going to give you all the information that we know. So I want to remind you guys, when we're talking severe weather, until we get into deep into these short-range models, it's very hard to know. We're never going to know exactly what's going to happen, right? But it's very hard to get a really good idea what's going to happen until we do get in these short-range models. So I'm going to talk about the ingredients in place, what we have in place to really what's driving what could potentially happen as we get into our work week. This could be a dangerous setup, maybe the most dangerous one so far for 2022. Not trying to hype things up, but we need to talk about the potential here. So if you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you ever thought about joining the channel, it goes a long way. It's just a way to help out monthly. I'm trying to get to 20 channel members by the end of May, so I really appreciate you guys. I'm at 17 right now, but thank y'all for tuning in. If you guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, gives others an opportunity to do so too. We all can look out for one another and glorify God doing it. So you see the sun starting to blast in. My outside door's right here. I'm making this video a little bit earlier than normal, but I want to feed this information to you and try to tell y'all as much as we possibly can. So here going forward here, we got this slight risk up. Very small region here in Missouri. So if you're in central to southern parts of Missouri, some severe weather is possible tomorrow. We're going to show you the short range model here in a few minutes here and talk about what y'all could see. This looks like a giant goldfish. Honestly, if y'all got any kids and y'all eat goldfish, I know I'll be munching on them all the time. So not to get off track here, but you have a severe weather threat even tomorrow, okay? And then you have a severe weather threat for your Monday. This is your April 11th time frame, right? This is a pretty big area of a slight risk, but it's only a level 2 out of 5, right? So it's not a huge deal, but we'll see if this uptrends. But for right now, Monday does not look like a huge deal, but you do have a slight risk stretching all the way down here from Waco, Texas, all the way up here to the Quad States region with a marginal risk surrounding it. Going back all the way to San Antonio, all the way up to close to Louisville, not quite, but Evansville, Kentucky, places like that. So, yeah, I mean, severe weather is about to really get kick-started here. Monday will kind of be the beginning stages of this, almost like the appetizer. But as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, check this out. You have basically, remember, we've talked about this before if you've tuned into my weather videos, a 30% risk past day 3, so day 4 to day 8. Think of that as an enhanced risk, a level 3 out of 5. So it's higher than the day before, which only has a slight risk. Think of this area in yellow right here as a slight risk, a 15% risk of severe weather occurring in 25 miles in any given location. But this orange area, this is including almost Oklahoma City. It could, get a little bit closer to you guys as you get later into more updates here in the coming hours and days. But this is right in the threshold of Tulsa all the way up to Kansas City. A dry line is going to set up. Dry lines are a totally different beast than what we experienced in the southeast with the severe weather that happened over the last several weeks. This is going to be a typical, more so early season severe weather setup, because normally you see this in May, maybe even June. So this is a little bit earlier for you guys in the Midwest, but an impressive dry line is going to set up. And I'll talk a little bit about what the dry line means exactly coming up here in a second. But severe weather outbreak potential really kicks up for your Tuesday. And then we get into day 5. And I really think day 5 has a better chance to see more tornadoes. So I think, you see it down here. You have this 30% risk that you might as well say is covering the entire state of Arkansas, covering the entire area of northern Louisiana, a small section of eastern Oklahoma, and northeastern Texas, and this is including areas of western Tennessee and northwestern Mississippi. This includes areas like Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, so even an area of southern Missouri. So this is a big deal. This is an enhanced risk at day 5. They're that confident that something is going to happen, something significant, something potentially dangerous. A lot of low-level moisture in this area. It's going to create a pretty decent amount of CAPE. You're going to have more CAPE, probably CAPE. When I say CAPE, think of that as storm energy, storm juice, the energy needed to really explode these thunderstorms, right? Anytime I say CAPE, associate it with what I said there. So really what you watch out for is going to be a low-level jet. There's going to be a lot of dynamics, the kinematics, the thermodynamics you need in the same area and overlapping each other, right, to create a dangerous environment for Arkansas, really for your Wednesday. I'm really watching that time frame. So let's talk about what we do know, okay? So we're not in short-range models, right? So we can't get super detailed on this. I really don't think we can. We can get about as detailed as we can, right? So let's go on and click this and keep this going. Go look at the pivotal weather graphics here. Hopefully they cooperate with me. So what you're looking at now is the 500 millibar wind stream. So the upper trough is what we're looking for. Think of this as a mid-level jet. So this dips down here, right? This settles up and kind of sets up shop over the central U.S. And what happens is pieces of energy eject across this trough, if you will. People will describe it in much more different ways than I am. There's so many ways to describe. Some people call these just an upper level low, an upper trough, short waves, which are the energy, pieces of energy that ride along these troughs. So, I'll try to explain this the best way I can. So as we're getting into Sunday, this upper trough is moving through. A little piece of energy moves across the central U.S. This will create, and you see how it's bowing out right here. This will create an environment for some severe weather for your Sunday, for areas of Arkansas. That same time frame I just mentioned right here. This is going to ramp up the low-level moisture in this area, and then create a little bit of some dynamics in place to create severe weather in Missouri. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. Stick with me here. So we get past Sunday, and then we're getting into Monday, right? And then the flow almost not flattens out. That's probably not the best way to explain that. But as we're getting into Monday, the upper trough really starts to dig into out west on the western U.S. And this begins to kind of affect the weather right here. So at the same time, Monday is a weird day. Monday is a day where you're probably going to have a lack of dynamics in place to really create thunderstorms. So the big question on Monday for that big slight risk that I just mentioned right here is there going to be any big time thunderstorm development in general? If it does develop, you're going to have some dynamics in place, and some of it could be supercell in nature, but you're definitely going to have the moisture in place. But are you going to have other dynamics in place? There's going to be some kind of cap in place, meaning basically something is capping the environment from updrafts really exploding. But Monday's a weird day. Monday's a weird day. I really don't think it's going to trend anywhere past a slight risk, because I think thunderstorms are going to have a hard time getting going in general. Even the Storm Prediction Center mentions that. But as we're getting into your Tuesday, we're starting to get into Tuesday morning, see this upper trough beginning to dig. This upper trough begins to dig right here, and then it starts its process probably Tuesday evening into overnight to start ejecting itself across the middle of the country. So we're watching what happens Tuesday. This is when a dry line setup can set up right into here across the middle of the country. So at the same time, you have low-level moisture ejecting itself way up into the middle part of the country. So you have plenty of low-level moisture. This is beginning to eject itself, right? So you're going to have some kind of low-level jet that sets up here. Winds aloft. The kinematics are going to be there. But there's a lot of questions still on a storm initiation, just like there always is. You're going to have those steep lapse rates in place. So meaning the temperatures decrease very rapidly aloft in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I tend to do that here and talk too much on one graphic before moving to the next graphic. But here we go. This is when we're getting into Wednesday. And this is, I really think, the most dangerous day as far as tornadoes. So we're getting into Wednesday afternoon, and check it out here. This trough is neutral right here, right across New Mexico, starting to get to the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. right? So this is in the wee hours of the morning, Wednesday morning. It begins to become negatively tilted, which is a no-no, meaning it becomes a dangerous setup, becomes a much more dynamic storm. It's pulling all these, you see these wind bars coming out the southwest, and then it begins to pull out the southwest, all this low-level moisture. You're going to have probably a big-time low-level jet over this area, and with the buoyancy occurring, you're going to have some big-time CAPE showing up in this area. And remember, if you get CAPE, you start to get CAPE values over 1,000, 1,500 joules per kilogram. That means you mix it up with already what you have high-end dynamics in place in this region. It is going to be a worrisome setup here in Arkansas, I really think, Wednesday. But this thing becomes negatively tilted big time right here. Therefore, it becomes very dynamic, and you're going to probably have a blizzard up here in the Dakotas, I really think, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. Next thing you really look at is the low-level moisture, these dew points. These are dew points. This is the dry air, very bone dry air, right? So we're getting into Sunday. You have kind of a rise in dew points, enough dew points right here into dew points. Enough dew points into dew points. That makes a whole lot of sense. I wish I had time to edit these videos, but you know, this is as real as it gets for me. Sometimes you get going here. I know a lot of people who do their weather videos, they'll edit stuff out, but you know, ain't nobody got time for that. I'm always going to keep it real and genuine with you guys, but you might lose some of the professionalism, but you know, this is real Mitch right here. Y'all know how I do. So we're getting into Sunday. You got dew points into the 50s. No, that's not a lot of moist air. But if with the other dynamics in place that I just mentioned, you're going to have probably some kinematics in place up here. A little bit of CAPE, which I'm about to show. You're going to have an environment that's good enough for a little bit of severe weather if you can get any storms going in Missouri tomorrow. But check out as we get into Monday, those high-end dew points begin to form, dew points to the 60s, 50s and 60s. And then we're getting into Monday, dew points are rising, and then that upper trough begins to eject, and it really pulls all that low-level moisture really far north. And then the dry line sets up right here, guys. That's when dry line is when you have dew points in the 60s, maybe even the 70s. On the east side of a boundary, and on the west side of the boundary, you have dew points in the 40s, 30s, and the 20s. So just like I've always mentioned, it's the same thing with winter weather. When you have two air masses colliding like that, just know that it's going to create probably some pretty explosive weather as far as in the storm world. So that is what is going to happen for your Tuesday. Dynamic setup sets up right here in Kansas, potentially Nebraska. Pivotal points probably going to be up here, Oklahoma, and you're going to have dew points rising into the 60s all the way into southern Iowa as you're getting into your Tuesday afternoon. These continue to rise, but then really deep moist air begins to fill in. Finally got rid of all that blasting sun coming into my window right here. These deep low-level moisture levels begin to rise pretty far north into Arkansas, and this is when I start to worry about the tornado threat. You just get dew points, and you see the air mass begins to move also. You get bone dry air that starts to move into Texas, and this air mass is moving. Normally when it starts to move, you're about to be on your last day of severe weather, but that last day could be dangerous. So dew points rising into the 60s, close to 70 in Arkansas, and you know, when you get dew points, they're starting to get that high, that moisture at the surface. You really start to get a dangerous environment for severe weather and tornadoes, more importantly here. But you look at the CAPE, you're going to have plenty of that, right? You always need other things besides CAPE. Sometimes you can have CAPE values, you know, well over 3, 4, almost 5,000, but sometimes the atmosphere is capped, meaning updrafts can't really get going. You have the ingredients sitting there ready to explode like a firecracker, but you can't get them to get past the cap, just aloft. There's warm air aloft creating a cap. It's hard to explain because honestly, guys, I can't fully explain it confidently. That's why severe weather is probably my third least favorite weather, because I'm not as confident fluently explaining it as hurricanes, and definitely not as much as winter weather. But look at the CAPE developing here as we're getting into Monday. You know, you got some pretty high high-end CAPE levels rising into Arkansas, where you're going to have that slight risk setting up. So you're going to have that storm juice in place here. You're getting into Tuesday. You got CAPE riding on the east side of this boundary right here with this dry line. So any storms that do explode along this dry line Tuesday afternoon and evening are going to be explosive. Very large hail possible always with these setups. Normally these storms are very photogenic with these kind of setups, and they with the right environment, and you're going to have the low level jet kind of raging in this area with the right environment, you're probably going to get an extremely photogenic tornado. Luckily, the population isn't quite as large out here in this area, so if anything develops, hopefully it doesn't affect anybody. But that wasn't the case in Iowa back in early March, unfortunately. But then we're getting into Wednesday, and then the Cape begins to rise. But you notice, you're thinking, well, the Cape isn't as high in Arkansas, but it's replaced by those high-end surface dew points into the 60s and almost 70 in these areas. So you don't need a whole lot of Cape. With the tornado outbreak here in South Carolina back on Tuesday, guys, that, by the way, had 14 tornadoes on the latest count. I think Cape values were only reaching 1,500, 2,000 joules per kilogram at most. So you don't necessarily need Cape at 3,000 to 4,000, right? So just remember that you really don't. In fact, when you get the Cape really, really high, normally you have basically another factor probably going against tornado development. Not exactly always, but normally you do here. But going forward here, the severe weather threat begins to diminish. But very impressive setup. Low-level jet will be screaming, low-level jet for your Sunday. Then getting into your Monday, wind energy there. Monday's a weird day. Like I said, Tuesday, look at this low-level jet along this boundary setting up Tuesday. Now, it'll begin to diminish somewhat as you get into Tuesday afternoon, but maybe re-amps itself. So any storms that develop along this dry line, you're going to have a 30 to 40 knot low-level jet, a deep layer shear developing over this region that's going to be spinning in those updrafts and really has a chance to put a tornado outbreak maybe over portions of the southern plains and south central and the central U.S. in general. Then we're getting into Wednesday, and then the low-level jet ramps up to for areas further in the southeast, for areas like Arkansas. So this is scary looking. Low-level jet popping off 40, 50 knots in this area. I really think you're probably going to have a lot of tornadoes in Arkansas as you're getting into Wednesday. So we got to watch out for that. And then going forward here, I will show you what the latest NAM shows for Monday, right? So we're getting into Monday right now. This is the Monday time frame. You already have convection ongoing Monday morning, but really what pops up Monday afternoon? Not a whole lot showing up in the slight risk area. So that is the big question. Will any storms develop in this region? Latest NAM, which has that slight risk up for this area right here, the Storm Prediction Center does. Latest NAM don't really have any convection going on. It has some early morning convection in this region right here in southwest Missouri, areas of northeast Oklahoma. But other than that, so that's why we have to get in these short range models. That's why, we can ramble all day about all this other stuff. And until we get in the short range models, we're not quite sure what's going to happen. As far as the snow threat, check this out right here. I love talking snow, guys. The European model, we'll get this going here. We're getting into Monday, right? There'll already be a little bit of snow action here in northern Minnesota. There's multiple pieces of energy. We're getting into Tuesday morning, right? A snowstorm cranks up with a short wave that develops here, but then we're getting into Tuesday overnight into Wednesday morning. This is when that trough begins to get negatively tilted here. And you're going to have a big-time snow event for the Dakotas that really begins to develop as pieces of energy continues to tail off this upper trough, right? So in certain areas, you could have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42. I'm losing count. Basic mathematics skills are diminishing here. But basically 2 to 2.5 days straight of moderate to heavy snow in areas of the Dakotas. So in response to this, look at this. When you have a negatively tilted trough, guys, the dynamics are incredible. So you're going to have those tight gradients and those isobars when you get a negatively tilted trough. So the same time that the snow's falling, these are potential wind gusts off the European. Look at this. You're going to have winds blowing at 30, 40, 50 miles per hour, maybe a gust of over 50 miles per hour in this region while there is snow falling in these regions. So this is going to be a blizzard, more than likely, for these areas of the Dakotas right here, especially western areas of the Dakotas. And in fact, look at the potential of the snow in North Dakota between now and next Friday evening. Over 2 foot of snow could fall. it's going to be interesting to see where this shifts where. Montana, North Dakota, northern area, basically the entire state of North Dakota could see over a foot of snow almost. How far south in South Dakota does the heavy snow get? But this is going to be an incredible event, guys. I'm sorry for the slappy. See, there we go. I was about to say sloppy, but then I made a sloppy comment there. Sorry if the presentation got a little bit sloppy there in the middle. When you have these longer videos, there is just so much information flowing, in your mind that you want to get out. But sometimes it doesn't always come out, the way you want it to. But thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Of course, we'll have an update on this tomorrow evening. And hopefully we'll know a little bit more about this tomorrow. So God bless everybody. Have a great Saturday evening. And I'll talk to you guys soon.